Our prime sponsor for this business messaging event is a company called LANCK Telecom, and you see here the other sponsors. I'd now like to call forward Igor Skutsenya, who is Business Development Manager with LANCK Telecom. He's been traveling a lot. He was in the US. I was talking to him in the US on Friday. He's been in Georgia, and now he joins us here in Amsterdam. So a very warm welcome, Igor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, James. Thank you very much to your colleagues. So, very glad to be here. Very glad to open up the Mobile Ecosystem Forum, both as the main sponsor, as just an occupant of the first spot. Our CEO, Alexey Yanson, would like to be here in person. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this week, but he sends his warm regards and warm welcome to everyone who participates. And he will be providing a video piece where he will be kind of giving a generic perspective of what is out there for telecommunication industry and what do we see in general would be the next several years for telecommunications. So the title of our keynote would be Long-Term Sustainability of Ecosystem, meaning we will outline some of the trends that we saw and how we see that the ecosystem would be developing and obviously staying afloat. That would be generic. Obviously, we'll see more details pieces when you go along with this event. There will be Nick Lane from Mobile Square giving a detailed picture as to what actually industry is expecting there from the standpoint of specialists in data and statistics, etc. We will be kind of giving us our expectations as an industry player, as a market player, what we maybe would dream about, what the industry would look like in the next several years. So. Alexey Yanson would be providing the keynote, just telling that information is basically the best product there is. And this is the best product, the best service. This is what makes this world actually running. This is an essential piece of the economy, of everyday life, etc. And he will give some expertise as to what changes are being introduced into the system and what it would look like when those changes go into the full power. And why we will all prevail and why the communication industry would be better than ever. So, without further ado.
It's a pleasure to see you all here today. As a main event partner, LANCK Telecom is pleased to welcome you to the annual MEF Connects Business Messaging. I couldn't personally be in attendance, but still I have a chance to address you, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity. LANCK Telecom has always seen MEF as the perfect platform for sharing new ideas and discussing the latest trends. One of a few organizations that actually has a strong influence on the market. And MEF gives us the opportunity to develop ideas with other professionals, but also allows us to directly implement them as rule sets or technologies which are available to all players on the market. Telecommunications is about keeping people connected, and it is the key to the information market trends and changes we all experience. That is why the telecommunications will thrive, which is great news for us. But as the world changes and develops, the request for communications is getting more complicated and requires more flexibility and creativity from the players on the market, as well as more efficiency and security from the communication channels. And while we discuss the key issues on the MEF agenda, it would be great, as usual, to create an enforceable plan of action, which is very important, I think. And LANCK Telecom would like to particularly tackle the rising fraud issue that we face today in both SMS and voice, where our efforts have been very fruitful but not sufficient enough. And as well, of course, many other important topics and issues. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you all good luck and a very fruitful event. And I'll now turn the floor over to my colleague Igor Skutsenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexey. This was Alexey Yanson, our Managing Director, and the next part would be a part of where we kind of give some details as to what we saw in terms of voice, in terms of SMS, how do we see RCS progressing, and where exactly we will probably see it in several years. The authentication as the kind of services that intertwine voice, SMS, possibly RCS, and maybe some other channels that we will be talking about. And then obviously fraud and anti-fraud, the area that I'm especially comfortable just talking about, because I'm spent for like last 3 years. This was my main projects were with anti-fraud systems. So. In terms of voice, we would like to explore the dynamics of international calls, the usage of apps and different voice-based services, and basically how authentication would be using the voice channels to provide security to mobile apps and web services. In terms of international calls, basically it's no secret that the overall volume of international calls has been on a decline lately for the last I don't know how many years. The thing is, though, that the products that are being provided through voice channel, they are evolving. They are getting closer to what enterprises actually need. So in terms of just being the channel when people just do international calls, we see the conference calls being including those international calls part when there's a need for that. So for example, everyone uses those video conferencing tools, Zoom, WebEx, etc., Skype. And sometimes you will have someone important who would like to jump on the call and be a part of it, being part of a discussion, but there's no Wi-Fi, there's no 3G or 4G, let alone 5G, but still they must participate. So many conference call services, they provide these numbers that the participant can dial in and at least participate in terms of voice. Obviously, they will not be able to share a screen or like do any multimedia. They will not see all the other participants, but still, they will be a part of the discussion and they can raise the points that they would like to address. And yeah, this is the usage of international calls as is. Also, calling apps. We see the surge in usage of those. Whenever someone is traveling, they no longer would like to be stranded with whatever rates and whatever service coverage their operator is providing them. Instead, they would sometimes use calling applications such as, I don't know, well, I mean, there's plenty of those, to have the connectivity at basically wholesale prices and just being able to call whoever, wherever, using their original mobile phone. And this is one of the usage where voice actually is evolving and providing the service using existing network, existing connectivity, but just giving the new package and giving new meaning as to voice services. And also authentication through voice channels. The authentication was and is the buzzword of the messaging world, obviously, with SMS volumes going up due to increase of usage of apps, due to increase of the usage of smartphones, etc. And sometimes voice would provide the secondary channel to deliver those one-time password if for some reason using SMS wouldn't be as good as they could have been. But overall, we see the decline in terms of voice traffic, but we don't see the decline in the number of service being provided. It's just who knows what's going to happen in 5 or 7 years or 10 years, but we see that the technology will provide the path to use the whole network. So in terms of SMS, obviously, a growing market of two-factor authentication. We all see that. We all see that more and more OTP, one-time passwords, are being delivered, enabling users to have a secure access to their accounts and their profiles within applications and web services. And this is a wonderful thing. I mean, the SMS, I guess they weren't previously like initially designed to do that function, but with this convergence of the newest technology and existing ways of delivering messages that are instant, that are being, with 90% or more of delivery rate, with 93% of delivered messages being read within the first 3 minutes, it just shows you the value that the existing channels could providing for the existing technologies. Obviously, this growing market, both in volume and sadly in price, it kind of provides the opportunity, it provides several challenges that the market should address. And those challenges, sadly, are getting larger with the float of time. The first one that we would like to address would be the prices. In some markets, especially where there's a limited amount of MNOs and MVNOs just providing the connectivity to retail clients, we see that sometimes market players would take an advantage of their position, and they would be raising prices not only once a year, but sometimes twice a year, 3 times a year, which kind of, I mean, this is a business, and we totally understand the position that the revenues must grow, et cetera, et cetera. It's just that from enterprise standpoint, the authentication and the delivery of notification would sometimes be viewed as the fixed costs. Those that aren't actually where the fixed cost is the term from accounting when you provide more services, but your kind of expenses stay the same, or you expect them to stay the same. Whereas the operational income is where you generate more revenue, and then you get more expenses to go along. So with these prices go up, the businesses obviously are looking for another way to provide that service of secure access for existing users. So the switch to OTT, in some markets we see 20%, 30%, even sometimes we saw the reports of 40% of one-time passwords be delivered through OTTs, sadly. And this is exactly happening within the markets where the SMS prices would be exceeding like 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents for some reason. And this is one of the challenges that our messaging industry must address. The other thing would be the quality. Obviously, when there's elevated costs for basically doing the same service, some of the compromises that sadly some of the market players would be looking for would be to compromise the quality. They would be looking for the partners that might have a lower delivery but would still provide better pricing that they would in turn use to provide better pricing for their enterprise clients. And sadly that happens. And this is the challenge that it's a business decision, whether you would like to provide lower costs or higher quality, which basically any industry would face. And the third kind of challenge that messaging industry faces is also connected with the prices. This is a business. This is the issue of fraud. If you have the growing market and the price per unit gets up, you will attract those that would like to take advantage of of some of the loopholes sadly some security system have. And sadly, in 2021, CFCA had to include several SMS scenarios as being top 10 in terms of volume of fraud, and those were the SMS phishing and SMS spamming. And I was just recently in Washington for an anti-fraud conference, and they reported that some of the brands lose tens of thousands of dollars every day due to the SMS phishing campaigns, that there are loopholes in their security system. There are sadly loopholes in the security system of telecom service provider that allow that to happen. And this is a growing problem, but the growing problem would expect more and more investment to address it. And more technology, obviously. We have a leeway where the technology that's being used in voice fraud could be transferred into SMS and make this business a lot cleaner and a lot better to use. So, and obviously the awareness and teamwork would be the keywords in addressing those issues. Just raising the awareness about the issues, about the raising prices, about the OTTs, about the quality of the routes, and raising fraud would help build a better environment and better business for all of us. In terms of RCS, the rich communication services also is in a steady development. Obviously, the first point here being P2P, we just wanted to kind of address it right away. Right now, it's not monetized, but we expect it to be an integral part of the environment altogether. Just because, like, if you kind of forward the A2P message with some deal or discount or some code to some of your peers, you're basically using P2P, but in essence, you are doing the A2P work, the service that you provide for businesses. So that would be one of the usage, and we see that with increased coverage of RCS, both P2P and A2P will be increasing. As for A2P environment, it's fairly simple. I mean, it's on the rise, and maybe the progress isn't as fast as we would like it to be. There's a handful of major operators that already enable that in their network, and excuse me. But there are still a lot of operators that would like to jump on the train of A2P development, and they would like to introduce those to your to their networks, obviously with as little investment as possible. And we think that there will be an opportunity for that, and we'll be talking about that when we talk about coverage. So we see coverage as you know, it was expanding really fast several years ago when the multiple operators were installing the RCS platforms within their security networks. But then when the market wasn't growing as fast as they would expect, there is some stalling with this. And we see the opportunity for the technical vendors, for the solution providers to kind of provide an easier, a cheaper, just a less complicated way to integrate RCS networks, and we see several options like this in the market. We expect the international RCS hubs to pop up in the different regions of the world. We also would like to see the solution vendors to provide the cloud-hosted solution when you have the minimum elements to be installed within the security perimeter of operator, and then the rest could be hosted elsewhere. So that would kind of make the whole thing easier, and that would let RCS world to be expanded a lot faster. Also, the brand awareness. Some operators aren't used for the role of basically being evangelists of the new communication channel that would like to educate enterprises and brands as to what's going on, as how they can benefit from adding one more communication channel into their mix. Because they already juggle several, they juggle social network, SMS, voice, call center, help desk, so many communication channels. And the operators must provide the value in terms of RCS, and just to tell them why this RCS channel would be better than several other channels combined, and why they actually would like to use that instead of so many others. And lastly, we would like to kind of set it up with a Terminator quote. There's no fate but what we make for ourselves. It was said by Sarah Connor, that made a questionable choice right after, but the principle stays. We would like to present the RCS coverage and RCS environment is not the thing that would be kind of bestowed to us from the sky. This is something that we must create ourselves. We must invest. We must work on that, make it work, invest more, work on it more, introduce new operators, new brands into this, and thus we could be setting the standards of what the industry should look like in coming years. In terms of authentication, I just realized that we have flash calls as the prime example of authentication channel being used, and I have a panel with, I think, within an hour from here, so I probably shouldn't be spending too much on that because there's going to be a separate panel and separate presentation on that. We will talk in details about flash calls there. In terms of voice message OTP, this is essentially the delivery of one-time password through a voice message, and obviously I think everyone in the room had personal experience when dealing with those. And this is an example where the technology not only is provided through the existing network to deliver the service, but it also kind of competes with SMS. We just talked about how the SMS prices are going up. Sometimes the enterprises would be looking for other ways to authenticate their users, and voice message, if it justifies in terms of cost, if the OTPs are better off being delivered by voice, not through SMS, and makes financial sense and economic sense, and obviously it's a good way for the users to be authenticated, then surely go for it. And obviously the SMS versus OTT stays. As we mentioned before, in some regions the price per SMS are going so far that the enterprises are switching their traffic to OTTs, no matter that the delivery rate is obviously a lot lower. The user experience is different. The coverage is not as good as with SMS. I mean, rightfully so, because no OTT will have 100% coverage as with SMS, but still, there is a challenge in authentication that could be met with push notifications and emails. That kind of indicates that the businesses would still they will remain dynamic. They will be looking for other ways to deliver one-time passwords and notification, etc., even though they have all these channels to choose from. So we mustn't be idle. We must work on the service to be better. We must work on the value that we provide, on the cost that we provide. So there are still some alternatives that could be there. And the Mobile Connect, I don't think I have time to cover that. Sorry about that. So the cascade is kind of the key word that we would like to present in terms of authentication. We think that combining several ways of delivering one-time passwords would be the best practice that you could give your enterprise clients when you use the least expensive way to deliver one-time password with maybe not the perfect delivery, but if it doesn't work, you switch to another one. You switch to another one. And each channel of delivering one-time password complement each other. So both you will be optimizing costs because you will be choosing the least expensive first and kind of cover the majority of it. But also you will elevate the delivery and just make sure that the users have their secure access to their profile, to the services they use, and to the accounts that they create in web services and applications. Okay, so here comes my topic. So in terms of fraud and anti-fraud, sadly, within the last 2 years, the telecommunication industry estimates that the fraud has risen by $10 billion. It used to be under $30 billion in 2019, and in 2021 they now estimated at almost $40 billion. Obviously, it comes with the flow. The telecommunication market is growing, and when there's this market, obviously some fraudsters would look at it and to seek some additional profits. The volumes has risen so much, and the technology wasn't rising as fast, sadly. But the thing is, the industry already has the answers for many of the fraud scenarios that are out there that are kind of plaguing the industry players. First of all, the real-time traffic analysis is the key. Majority of telecom service provider would still be using those system with CDR analysis and rely on them in their judgment, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a proven technology with a track record, but it's just not fast enough, and it still allows a lot of fraud to go through before the judgment is done. So we're advocating in getting on board with the real-time traffic analysis, depending on SIP, not on CDR analysis. Obviously, you're not ditching CDR analysis because you must provide the set of parameters for the real-time traffic analysis unit to work on, but that would be the key. The technology is to tackle fraud as fast as possible. AI, machine learning, neural network, whatchamacallit, that would be another thing. The substitute of manual labor with automatic labor is, I mean, this is the way humanity goes. So we expect the anti-fraud systems to go this path as well. We ourselves have a wonderful system in place that does real-time traffic analysis depending on hundreds of parameters of voice traffic, and we encourage all the partners to do the same. We kind of provided, along with the voice interconnection, like providing the additional value along with existing services, and we urge all other market players to follow the path. Just provide this additional security, invest in this technology, and have your voice business safer. And the third one would be the call validation. We all heard and experienced those pesky robocalls, especially with CLI spoofing, that are trying to reach us out and deliver confusing audio messages or some calls that shouldn't be there. And we see how the regulators around the world face this problem and how they're trying to tackle it. And everyone knows about StirShake, and many companies actually comply with it. So the thing is, there is the principle that lies in stir shaken is very, very right. Call validation, just matching call details between the parties that make the call would eliminate lots of fraud scenarios. It could eliminate robocalls, especially with CLI spoofing, interconnect bypass, PBX hacking with generated traffic, false answer supervision, call stretching even, if you use technology right. So we think the call validation would be the key to tackle the kinds of fraud that are not being tackled by the usual analytical platform, no matter how good they are. So that would be the call validation is the future. There are systems out there that deliver this, and we think that the number that is being reported, almost like $40 billion, could be smaller with the omnipresent call validation technology. And I think that's about it as for my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.